Hey everybody, I'm here and I don't even have any paperwork or I didn't write anything down, but I'm about to talk about the baby boomers and this is all my experience in my life. I am a Gen Xer. I was born in 1972 and I'm here to talk about my experience and my research, my reading about the baby boomers. And yes, my parents were baby boomers. I love my father and I love my mother is no longer here, but I love my mother as well. But I'm here to talk about as a whole. But I'm a go step by step of what I want to talk about the baby boomers. Oh, hold on, y'all. You don't even look like I even got a shirt on. There we go. Okay, let me get where y'all can see me good. Okay, again, I'm gonna start about telling you again the dates of being a baby boomer, and I do have that in the dates of the when Gen X started my generation. Again, I'm a generational X. I was born in 1972. My parents or they I was raised with parents that were baby boomers. One was born in 1952 and one was born in early 1953. The dates are not important. Just know this one was born in 52 and one was born in 1953. And their parents were of the silent generation. And both of my parents both had parents that were married. One of them became a widow before I was born, but she was married before I was born. Okay, and she became a widow. I'm believing the year was 1966. That was on my dad's side. I never met my grandfather on that. I wish I would have. I really do, because people tell me that I remind them a little bit of him. The older people in the community, but let's get on my and I got a chance to meet both of my grandparents on my mother's side. They actually, or I would say, they raised me to a certain degree because without them, I don't think that I was going to make it. They put they if they seen a problem was going on in which I know my grandfather that he seen a lot of problems with how their children were acting and how they were getting treated and why come they weren't able to do this or that. And then I noticed my grandfather was quite angry a lot about how his kids were going to, he called them monkeys. He said they were going, what you going to do, run around here like monkeys? And he was like, and he was very upset. And he was very, he was a very, he had a sense of humor. So he used to joke about it. And he always put it on my grandmother and her side of the family. He always put it on my grandma's side of the family. I know why he did it because they are were bad shit. I miss my grandmother so much, but let's get back to it. But anyway, they made sure when we got out of school, if my parents weren't at home, and which my father he worked very hard. It seems like he was taking care. He was trying to take care of us. Sometimes he did the best he can. He was taking care of his mother and his sisters. They were always calling our his baby boomer sisters were always infringing and calling in our family's home. My mom didn't like it. He worked at a factory, uh, paper factory that was supposed to be one of the top paying factories in the county that we were from. And he wasn't making a lot of money. I don't think he was really. I mean, they weren't paying people. They weren't paying people of color what they were paying people that were white. Just put it like that. But he was. They were doing the best they can. That was the best that he was going to get by working in the county. So my dad, I feel like he had a lot of stress upon him, and I feel like he needed to learn a lot about relationships and family and values. And of course, as I'm going to get to it, that a lot of baby boomers did not have any values about family. So, or they just didn't have any values or uh, about it. They pretty much were worried about what they can get and how they're gonna get it, and it's all theirs, and really didn't have give Gen X children much emotional support. It's like, hey, there's no hands on here. You guys, I can't even give you a manual. You're just gonna have to go ahead and get all out there in the woods and figure it out for yourself. That was me as a Gen X kid. Now, again, I know that some of my classmates had a different experience. But from where I'm from a little town I had neighbors, and most of the neighbors around there had these FHA homes. And most of the parents there that lived in this little bitty housing development, they worked. The mom worked, the dad worked, and most of the people in the neighborhood had baby boomer parents, because in the 1960s, uh, and where I'm from, they had factories. They had Levi's, they had an Arrow, they had a cotton plant, they had a Morton Plastics, and I'm trying to think of some other stuff. Always the packing house. Those are the main job sources, and I'm sure there were some other places, but those are the main ones that I remember as a child. If y'all want to put in the comment that y'all remember about any of the factories. But with that being said, a lot of the children, again, were raised up with the silent generation, the generation before my parents that are baby boomers. I'm a generational X. I'm gonna keep on tying all this together. Okay, with me growing up and say in the 1980s, my experience was from as far as I can remember. My parents lived. We lived in a little single wide trailer on my grandparents' property, and for some reason, and I think my grandmother, my dad's mom, may have co-signed for that. His first home was co-signed by his. That's typical of a the silence generation co-signing for their children. To get their first house, or most of them went with mobile homes back in the 70s, in the 60s and 70s. The first home was always going to be a little bitty. Most what I've seen, single wide mobile homes. That was the go-to. Get your mom or dad, one of the mom and dad co-sign. Someone has the land, y'all put it on there. That's my first experience as a child, remembering that. We grew up in a little mobile home on my my mother's grandfather, mama, and daddy's property. Okay, and then again, I don't know. That property could have been my uncle's, my mom. Them he let them stay there. I don't know the significance, because I went and found out some other evidence at the courthouse. This is what I do. But let me go ahead and say this. Okay, with that being said, in the next home, for some reason, I know the reason, but I'm not going to discuss that right now. Then we moved out of that little mobile home, and then we moved into apartments in the next town, and we stayed there. I really liked it. It was right down from the school, my elementary school. I could walk back and forth to school. It was a little school called Northside, and we moved in a little bitty apartment complex, and I think it's still there today. It's called Marina 2. And we lived in a 3-bedroom, nice little apartment. We had central air. We were in the town, and everybody wanted to be in the town where everything was at one point in time. Again, this town was booming back then. They had all these jobs: Levi, Arrow, Morton Plastic, the cotton mill. All that was it was booming back there. This is where people came to get a job. Okay. And this was where a lot of if they didn't go to college and become professional, get a professional degree or whatnot, they would stay there and work in the factories. My father chose to stay and work in I think before he got that job over at the paper plant, he was working at a piano place in Conway. My dad always worked. He always was the provider of the home. Um, I've never known my dad. We never had the lights, water, or gas turned off or any of that nonsense. My mom, she worked when she wanted to. And if she didn't want to work, she didn't. I would say the most out of when they were together, they divorced when I was 17, 18 years old. And from me being from 0 to 18, I'll say Mama Mel worked 3 or 4 years out of that whole time. So my mama was pretty much a home maker. She was at home. Daddy went out to work. So you see what I'm saying? Baby boomers, they were able to live off of one income and buy a house and buy cars with one man's earning. Now my mama, she knew how to go get money. Like she would clean houses. That was just extra money so she could buy her cigarettes or whatever she wanted to do through the day. But daddy paid off. Mama, I've never known mama why pay any bills. That's just not the way we was raised back then. No. Mama didn't pay any bills, in which I think that's a good thing. If she wanted to go to work, she could. If she didn't want to, she didn't. I don't think that's really was ever a argument about that part. I've never heard anything. Let's see. And when my dad wasn't working his jobs, again, he always had a job. He had truck. One time he went out of state. He was a truck driver. What else I remember him doing? Factory jobs, and he would pull motors out of cars and fix other people's cars and cut grass. Daddy was a doer. He was gonna go out there and get some money if he needed some extra money. Again, this is what I raised up with. I was in the home with both my parents. I'm a Gen Xer, but also I had siblings. And with that being said, you got to remember the baby boomers were a generation that they came up. They did not have the values and the ideal of family like their parents did, like the silent generation. The silent generation, when I went over to my grandparents' house, again, I spent a lot of time over there. I put them in the category of raising me because they did. Like I said, I love my grandparents to death. On my maternal side, I did not get a chance to meet my daddy's side, and I didn't spend a lot of time with my dad's side of the family. I spent a lot of time. That's who raised me, was my mother's side of the family. So when I went over to the silent generation, my grandparents' house, they told us value. You stayed the night there. When the roosters crowed, you were getting up with the roosters, and they were already up. Grandma had put coffee on. She was cooking the bacon and the biscuits. She was getting ready to prepare it because when my papa came home, he had breakfast ready, and that's the way it was. They killed their own hogs. They had chickens. They had ducks. They had, hogs. They had little dairy cows. My papa always had cows and stuff, and they had their own garden. And I remember many mornings that we got up with our grandfather. If we were there, and we were there in the summertime a lot. Most of the years, as little bitty children, most of the time we spent time down our grandparents' house, and our grandfather and my grandmother took care of us when we were like 5, 6, 7 years old. And that changed as we got bigger, though. That's when Mama was working. When she was working out of those 17 years that I was in the home, when she went to work, I think she was working at a little shoe factory. We would spend the summers down our grandparents' home in the morning. And so when we got there at 6 o'clock in the morning, we had to go out in the garden. We had to help our grandfather till. We had to put down little powder, the white powder, to keep the incense off. We had to go out there and go feed the baby cattle. We had to go in the hen house. I remember my first appearance going to the hen house. There was a a garden hoe outside there, and she said, "Yeah, there's a snake in there. You can go ahead and kill it." That's why that garden hoe. I said, "What?" So I used to go in the chicken house and pull eggs and stuff like that with the silent generation. I really do appreciate my grandparents. They raised us to be self sufficient and know about how to grow your own food. Whenever you went down over there with them, they taught you how to do things. But I noticed a little something. I had aunts and uncles that were there. They kind of didn't want to help out to help my grandfather and grandmother do any type of gardening work or nothing like that. They found a way to get around it. They would leave and go to their older sister siblings' home or go to their friend's house. Instead of them helping their grandparents, they would skip out. And so that kind of left the grandchildren, me, and I think it was me, my sister, my couple cousins. We were out there in the garden and helping our grandparents. And believe it or not, I believe they became a little resentful because we spent more time with our grandfather. But when we was there with our grandfather, we had to work with the silent. We had to work, and he really did appreciate it. We always got paid. He gave us $1 or a quarter or something, and he always made sure we were good. Anyway, I built a very close relationship with my grandfather, but it was because he was instilling his values into us, and that's why I wonder the baby boomers. They were so spoiled. Some of them, not all of them, because some of them did have to work. They did work, but the ones that I did see that were spoiled, that everyone's talking about, they only wanted, they would ask for anything. I don't care if they was the working type or the lazy ones that was avoiding the work. All of them were able to go to either their grandmother or their father and mother if they needed a home. What I noticed is, if they needed a home, they needed to co-sign for a trailer home and needed some land, they were there for them. They signed for them. If they wanted a car, they signed for them. And then when it came our time as Generational X, we asked, that was not going to happen. I was told that you're going to have to work a few years, get yourself your money up, and I don't know, when we may sign in, you got to save some money. I said, what? I was like, what? And that's the thing with Generational X. We were told to go get it, pull up our bootstraps and just do it, and all this crazy lingo they were saying. But in actuality, that is not what baby boomers were going through. They were spoiled, the spoiled generation. Again, their grandparents came from the World War II, and they came from the Depression, and they wanted their children to have better. And they did. They provided for them better, but they were different times. They could be farmers, and they could be on, say, chicken houses, hog houses, and they were able to save a great work. Two of them working in the factories, which usually was just the male counterpart that worked in my factory. But from what I'm looking at, my family history, none of my grandfathers worked for anyone. My grandfather on my dad's side, he had his own logging business, and my grandfather was a farmer, and he dealt a lot in livestock. And so they had their own businesses, and they were able to, with their income and them having been in the military, again, World War II, they didn't have no choice but to be drafted and go in there. And when they came out, they had enough money to buy them a home. And then they had money from the military that they saved up while they were gone. I think one of my grandfathers was in Germany, and another one was here in the United States, but they were able to save their money up so they can marry and buy homes. And with that being said, when they came back out of the war, they had money in their pocket, and it was in the 50s. That became the golden age. They had money to contribute to their families. They spoiled their children. They gave their children every materialistic thing that they could get because they themselves never had those things. Okay, now let's get on track since I broke the generations down, and how it flowed into me being a Gen X, wanting to talk about how the baby boomers were, in my opinion, what I observed about them, and what, if you read books, they are called the generation of psychopaths. That's saying a lot because they have become selfish, and they have never everything they were given everything as a generation. They have had it the easiest. They really have never had to work for anything. They have had it always handed to them. It's like Jupiter's in their sky. They feel lucky every day, like everything's going to work out. Mom and dad going to come through for me. Oh, the government, they'll come up with a new package for us. We will be just fine. And you got to remember, these baby boomers didn't even have to pay for college. So they don't have any debt, but they wanted their children. They signed a FAFTA to get us in debt, though. If that's what you did right when you got out of school, talking about scholarships. But again, they had a way to make it them to go for free to college. In the 50s, in the 60s, college was free. Mainly what the parents were trying to save up for them was, y'all, let me try to get straight. The main thing that the parents were saving up for these kids were to make sure when they went to college that, you know, they had enough money for food. They had enough money to go to, if they wanted to go to a little play, or they had money to do what they needed, a little place to stay if it wasn't provided by the campus. The parents really just want to look out and make sure they had money for the children. And back then, for a whole semester to go to school, if they had $200, that would get them on for probably a year or two. That's what I'm trying to say. These are different times. Money was completely different back then. The car that they bought was more expensive than the home that they really all they had to pay was for the material, and that was it. There was no interest rate. Again, these people was coming out the military, World War II. They had VA loans. The children went to school for free. They were building the economy back up. They was building America back up. And during that time, the golden age, these children had the best of the best, and they got everything. But the problem is, now they will not do the same for the future generations. They tell us to go to work hard. You got to work hard. You got to do this. It was not like that. And there is a difference between white baby boomers and blacks baby boomers. A lot of the I live in the South. I live in Arkansas. A lot of the white baby boomers, they had it a lot easier if they were middle class or they were rich, because they came from a time where they came from old money. They had trust funds built. Their fathers most likely had a business. Their grandparents already had old money. And so coming from the South, knowing the history of how they got their money, and it's not all the way in a good way, but a lot of them were already set up for their kids and their grandchildren. They already had to have them set up. And to this day, 2024, it's still like that. A lot of the kids that went to school with me, and I went to public school. I have no idea why they didn't go to that Catholic school. A lot of them were already set up. Like again, They had hog, and the farmers had hog farms. They had chicken houses, and they were raising cattle. And this is what I'm come from because I'm in Arkansas. This is 1972. The kids I went to school with, they took off 2 weeks for deer hunting. This is how they were able to do. They made it happen for them. Okay, now with the black baby boomers. Some of them did. After they went to college, they did do well. And some of them that were that came out of the military, they had a little they didn't have it bad either because okay, say that you are one of my uncles. How many uncles did I have that went to the military on my dad's side? Two. Okay. Say I'm gonna use them as an example, kind of remember how they moved. Okay. Say they went to the military, one of them may have did Vietnam, or one of them just went because he wanted to. Okay, they stayed in there, they came back, they got out. Okay, automatically they were able to get a VA home. Most of the time, VA loans mean zero down payment. Ninja, you just go find you a house because you have served into the military. And this is part of the package that you're in. Not saying they were making a lot of money, but they gave them an open door to go ahead and provide a home for their family. And again, these homes back in those days were you can buy a new house, again, build it with material. And FHA was building these subdivisions out the hood. They had money for it. The government was making sure they had. Most of the time, the only thing they needed was a job to get a home back then, and maybe a co-signer, and maybe they just needed $200 or $300 down payment from the parent. And the parent, those silent a generation, they was gonna give it to them because this is what they did. They gave them. Well, yeah, I guess. Hey, well, my baby want a house. He got this new woman, and they just got married. Yeah, we'll go ahead and do this for him. That's what I used to hear from my grandparents. Yeah, he want a car. She wants this and that and the third. That's what they did. And with me growing up, I really seen a lot of they were spoiled people. Again, they were not the nicest personalities you ever want to deal with. And I'm talking about my aunts and uncles. They were not nice people. I remember as a kid, I really didn't like them very much. They were not nice, and they had a little attitude. They were spoiled. They were lazy. I seen they were kind of like taking advantage of my grandmother a lot because it seemed like she couldn't say no to them. And Grandpa he knew what they were doing, but he went along with it too. Again, that's just part of the silent generation. They knew what they were doing. They knew what they were raising. They knew it. But they wanted them, again, to have the best. And I really don't see anything wrong with that. But they didn't even plant any values for family into these spoiled children that they had. And they had some good times. They were able to get the homes. They were able to provide for their children. That's wonderful. They had 10 and 12 of them. They needed to. And they had the money, the means to continue to do this. And then when I get around them, I hear this bullshit that they say. It was hard times. She was poor. That's a goddamn lie. That ain't what I was saying. And they do that to throw you off of what they really were what they were really spoiled brats and what they really had. I had an uncle who used to come into the house. This is how he irritated us as kids. Would say that I'm 6 years old. He had went somewhere and bought him a Big Mac. I didn't know anything about Big Macs. My grandparents never took me to my dad. He didn't ever take us out to eat like that. We always ate at home during those times. I had an uncle that would bring a Big Mac from wherever he had came from. I think Conway had one or Little Rock had one. He had got a ride with. Come home and know them Big Mac was a cold. It would sit in front of us and eat it just to mess with us so we can look at it. This is the sociopath behavior of these baby boomers. My other observation of baby boomers, They would buy popsicles and things for their little children, but wouldn't offer us anything. I don't know where that came from. But again, this is what my view and what I seen as some of the baby boomers. What else did I see? I seen my aunt beg my father for money, and he was already struggling with 4 kids, and they were calling to help with their bills with their mother wanting money and causing problem within his home. And again, this man working in a factory, he already not making what he's supposed to, but he got baby boomer sisters that had husbands that at this point, where the fuck is your husband at? Quit calling my mom. And my mom used to hang the phone up on these people. And I do not blame her. She was not working. It was a one man, and my dad used to work all these jobs. I really feel sorry for my dad. I really do. I have some empathy, which they did not help. Empathy, he was trying to provide for his sisters. I guess he felt kind of guilty because his dad passed away, tragedy in 1966, and he wanted to help provide for his mom and his sister. Come to find out, it wasn't really providing for his mom. He was providing for his sisters and their bad choices and them being spoiled brats. And they end up taking everything. And being a baby boomer, they got everything anyway. Another story that I will do another thing about. Yeah, I'm here to tell my story about everything. But let's get back on track about the baby boomers. Okay. I think we've covered about what kind of jobs they had and how they went to school for free and how their housing was and some point of their behavior, how they was treating other people. While they're not a good. From what I've seen in the work when I went to work, say I did work for the state for a while. I worked. With my first job, I worked at a nursing home as an aide. I worked at a hotel as a cleanup person when I was 16 years old. As soon as I was able, I found me a job, and all through the years, all through my jobs, the baby boomers were the most difficult people to work for. If they were not trying to make your job bad because they were jealous because they felt like you were there to take their job, they were clocket watching and pocket watching, and they did whatever they could do to make your job a living hell while you was there. They were their bosses or the managers or whatever name they got. They were their snitches. I also seen a lot of the ones that retired with the state, the baby boomers. Not only did the state love them, they love them because they were again, they would snitch on you. If you were there as a Gen X, they had something against us really, really badly. They would snitch on you, tell the boss all kinds of crazy stuff, what time you clocked in, what time you left. They would tell things like that to their bosses. They had and they wouldn't even get paid for this. They did this because they wanted you to go down. I applied for a job, I remember, at Era Automotive. It was a lady that worked there in the office, and she was actually my neighbor. Back then, it was to work in a factory, you had to have an enormous amount of people vouching for you. You needed all these people that would say that you're going to work there, you're going to be a good worker, and blah, blah, blah. A factory, and I'm saying this was 1990, and I was only like 18 years old, and I was trying to get me, back then, I wish I would have went to college or went to the military. But anyway, I'm telling my story because that's the only option you have. Like I said, in that little town I'm from a little town in Arkansas. Your only choice was to work at the factory. That was a Arrow, Levi's, the cotton plant, or Morrison Plastic. That was it. I was trying to get on Arrow Automotive. This baby boomer woman, I ain't never done nothing to her. She lived in a house right up the street from me. it was 4 or 5 guys. They said they went in the office, talked to the hiring manager back then. And listen, I wasn't going to be making nothing but about $6 an hour. Back then, that was like, I guess that was the best of the best. I don't know. But the point is, it wasn't even $5. It was somewhere like $5. This bitch went and told people that do not hire me. And this baby boomer bitch didn't know nothing about me. She just knew I was the neighbors. I was one of her sons was my classmate. Why would she not want me to get a job? Y'all tell me. Never did nothing to this woman. And then the guys, I would see them shooting basketball at the center, and they came and like, yeah, Melba, we vouched for you, but it was her. I'm gonna say Miss Z. That's what her name started with Z. Miss Z she went up and told them you weren't gonna work out. They didn't even want. And there's a lot of, I've noticed with baby boomer black females, they had a lot of hate for the next generation. They didn't even want me to work at a factory job. Hey, I was trying to just get on my feet and give me a car and get my apartment. I mean, I had an apartment. I didn't have a car. I was barely making it, and I was going back and forth to my dad's house, and I was trying to free myself from that. I had 2 small children during that time, and this lady that was my neighbor went and told people not to hire me in 1990, unless it was a baby boomer. I had never done anything to this woman. And thank God the guys came back and told me that they went in there, and they shouldn't have never. Those people on it, like I said, this is the stuff that you have to deal with when you're dealing with small towns. And back then, baby boomers being haters against Gen X. Okay, what else did I want to talk about? Gen Xers now. The average income for them right now, when they retire, most of these people are not without money, okay? I notice a lot of them, they'll come around and act like they're having a hard time. They don't have any money. They play the role like they're broke. But we all know that their house is paid for. Their house has been paid for. Shit, your house only costs you about $10,000 to $15,000 at the most. And that was a high-end house if they bought the house in the 60s and 70s. And most of you done had a VA house, because most of y'all been married multiple times. And I know at least one of those ninjas you got, they were in the military. We know you got a VA home, and in a divorce, you got it. And what you did with it, maybe you bought another one or whatever y'all did with it. I'm just saying. And they had better times than we did. Don't let them fool you. I did an investigation on them. The average money that they get is $5,500. That's average. Some of them are, if they was the ones that looked up, and they're say some of them are millionaires. Say some of them had trust funds. Say some of them getting gas and oil royalty. Say some of them had RIAs. Say some of them just was win. A lot of them seem to be lucky at the slot machines too. I noticed that. But because they got money to burn. Just say most of them sold their parents' home, the silent generations farms, silent generations home, the silent generations mothers and fathers home. And they were not thinking about the next gen. They were not thinking about Gen X. They were not thinking about the millennium. They have not been thinking about us. It's like, give me. It's mine. I don't care if you don't get anything. I'm going to sit there for a minute. This is the energy that these people have. They're not called the psycho generation for nothing. And I watched a video today about how they want to go to their kids' house and talk about how small their home is and why they're paying so much for these homes when how we pay this and that and the third. Majority of the time, their parents paid their mortgage. But will they do the same for their children? No, they will not. Now, not say all of them won't. Some of them feel like they a lot. I've seen quite a few that they go beyond. They do help their children out. but they're gonna make sure they're good. That's for the general baby boomer. They're gonna make sure they're good, and then whatever they can uh, go scrunger or go piddle around and go into these dead people. When people die, they go into their relatives' home and collect all their collectibles and sell them and whatever. Over the years, they've been able to go online and sell all these collectible items of their family members. I got some aunts. It's sad. On my dad's side, we don't have any access to any pictures of any collectibles. They got everything. They will not share. You got to ask the certain ones that think she knows she's the shit, but she's not. You got to go ask her for permission to look at your family stuff. There is no family value. There is no. They do not try to do what their parents did or their parents did. What I'm trying to say, they do not care about family traditions. They do not care. Actually, they get a orgasm out of the seeing that you are struggling. You don't live in the big house that they live in. You don't even live in a house like they do. You can get the money from your retirement benefit. It may not be any retirement benefits when y'all get older. This is the shit that I hear from them. Again, I'm gonna tell you something. This is my opinion about I'm gonna keep telling y'all, I love my mother and father. I had both my mother and father in the home. They just happen to be baby boomers. There's nothing I can do about that. I spent a lot of time alone as a child. I helped raise my siblings. I made them sausage sandwiches and put mustard on them. I made potatoes and put flour on them, put onions on them. I did that. I remember I have a scar right here. Right here. I don't know if y'all seeing this. I can't, but I have a scar right here. I was ironing my own clothes at 4 years old. So I was trying to iron an outfit for myself because I don't know why I felt like I shouldn't have been doing it. I shouldn't have even been touching iron, but I had been doing it at 4 years old. I'm trying to tell y'all something. I was doing these things. I think I started cooking at 5. Whatever I could do. I remember making those little popsicle things. I would go in there and mix it up myself and make my own popsicles. Again, I was taking care of my own siblings. We know that if you are a generational X that's raised by a baby boomer, they really wasn't. If they were young, they really wasn't thinking about you like that. They were in a disco world. They were in a kind of hippie party world. They were drinking and having fun with themselves. They didn't have time to be worried about any children. Did y'all see the commercial that I posted about the commercials come up? Let me pull this up. The commercial comes up and asking, it's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your children are? And I remember that. Again, the baby boomers were the disco. They were partying, the clubbing it up. And I never knew none of my aunts and uncles not to go out to Friday, Saturday night. They were partying. And I was babysitting at their house at 10 years old, babysitting the little bitty kids. Know that, and this is everything I'm speaking is my truth. If you're white or something and you had a whole different lifestyle and your mom was a highly religious, one of the women that wore them things on their head, or I noticed that a lot of the kids I went to school with, there were what is the name? Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses. They kids' mama was at home. They didn't go through a lot. They were kind of They were under strict rules. They were sheltered children. Now we ran across a few of them, but it was, I would say, about 3 to 4 of my classmates were either Mormons or some of them. I think they was a cult. I really do. It was some strange activity going on as I was a kid. You can kind of tell. were Jehovah Witness, Mormons. What's some of the other Presbyterian girls that wear those skirts all the way down? They had them little hats on. Now, if you had a parent back then that was in those religious churches and all that, most likely they were being taken care of and watched by their parents because their mom was at home 24/7. Their moms didn't work. The men worked in those homes. So yeah, if you in a religious factor, or your mom, you came from a trust fund baby silent generation where you are a different ethnic group than I am, and y'all had the housekeepers and all that stuff, this is not for you. This is for me, my view of it. Yours could be completely different, and if it is, make a video about your lifestyle as generational X during that time. I'm talking about me. This is my video, and this is the way it's going down right now. If you don't like what I'm saying, just go on about your business. Just click on out of there, because my truth is my truth, and what I'm talking about is my life. So let me get on to this video where I'm gonna let y'all hear this. Just a moment. Oh yeah, and by the way, if you're watching this video and you like my content and you want me to continue to do this, subscribe to my channel. Start commenting so I can read your comments and say things to you. Right now, ain't nobody in here at the current present moment, but I want people to start commenting in my stuff and subscribe and hit the bell. Make your comments, like this video. Hey, I ain't doing it. Hey, I need some love too. Support me. Show me some love. I'm a generational X. Yeah, I'm resilient. I'm independent, but go ahead and hit that goddamn bell. Let's see here. Get this video up for y'all and hear this mess. Lord Jesus Christ. I like to fell out of my chair when I seen this video. Oh, here it is.
It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
Hey, 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
This is the shit that I grew up with.
It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
Hey, 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
This is what they have to remind. This shit here is what they have to remind the parents, the baby boomers. Where is your kid? God damn it. This is crazy. This is what we grew up with. This is how I grew up. Those commercials were real. Okay. But I'm gonna always be positive. I'm a Sag Moon. I'm gonna make everything very positive at the end of the day. But I'm gonna tell the truth at the same motherfucking time. Okay. But me growing up like that made me the person I am today. And apparently, I grew up. I came down here to Earth, and I chose my parents, and I jumped in there with them. I jumped in this body, and I needed those baby boomers to raise me to go do what I had to do. So thank you, Mama. Thank you, Daddy. I love y'all both. Rest in peace to Mama. But what I'm saying is the truth. And again, as me as a generational X, I was left at home alone. I was real, and to be a Gemini, I was really quiet because it seemed like nobody was paying any attention to anything I did. I was like, what is going on here? It's like I do not fucking exist around here. No one's paying any attention to me. No one's fucking around. I had no support on time. Then when you get about 12 and 13 years old, you got your grandparents. I could always walk over to my grandparents' house, but You need something else. And grandpa was dealing with health problems. The grandma was she was stressed out, older. Her kids was crazy, and I think they were just bummed the fuck out after that, raising all these babies. They had 10 of them, and they was all living crazy lives. And this one here dealing with drugs, this one here dealing with this one here getting locked up, this one here begging and asking for this. Then they got, oh Lord, it was just, and you get, and I'm like, shoot, I've been living independent pretty well much since I've been raising myself since I've been 4 or 5 years old. So you get about 12, you be like, is this it? The Generation X? So you start thinking about plans. At one time I was thinking about like, hey, maybe I need to play some sports, and I didn't even like playing. I didn't like nothing but the high jump in high school. Maybe I just start playing some sports and get a scholarship and get the hell out of here. And I think that's why I wanted to get involved with someone 3 years older than me so I could have a kid and leave. I was ready just to go. That's me being a generational X child. I don't think we ever had it. We didn't ever have it easy. We're called the toughest generation because we are dealing with a lot of the politic problems, the economy problems. We still trying to hold down the baby boomers, in which they're getting on up out of here, the baby boomers, and a lot of them are worth a lot of money. And kudos to the children that's going to be able to finally get their homes that they've been holding on for dear life. These homes they bought for $2,000 and $3,000, they're trying to get $1.2 million for. Kudos to the children and the grandchildren that finally get it. They won't get it while they're here, but they'll get it when they're gone. Y'all, I know I missed some parts. Like I said, I was just freestyling with this, but I'm gonna come back with another video, and it's probably gonna be more about Gen X's and all that. And I got a few little bitty videos that I'm going to put out, but this is me. I love talking to y'all. I love telling my story, my truth. Again, I got a podcast, y'all. It's called Honest to Goodness. I'm doing some interviews and setting some things up. It's going to be awesome. Y'all, it's going to be awesome. So subscribe to over there. There's no content over there, but I'm going to get something up here in a little bit. I have a day job, and I do candles. I do events. I'm building some more stuff up. But yes, I am very thankful and have much gratitude for whomever subscribed to my channel. I really do appreciate the support. I'm doing this from being honest from the bottom of my heart, and I'm just giving out content. I talk about things that other people don't want to talk about. Hey, if they don't want to talk about it and they still haven't been able to look at life like, hey, maybe if me talking about it may give me an option for us to solve the problems of what's going on in our society. And the only way I know to do that is to open my mouth up and talk about what I have to say. And that's what I'm going to do. Again, y'all, I love you guys. I love my dad and my mom from the bottom of my heart. And thank y'all for bringing me here. This has nothing to do with my parents. They just happen to be baby boomers. But I love my father. He will always provide it for the home. My father is a good person. He really is. But until next time, peace.